with this focus, this stuff is no longer just controlled by us. This stuff is now our core. Boys, I'm not going to lie, I'm dead. This run killed me. The microing, the claims, but getting to March 1940, controlling this part of the world and coring all of this stuff here is crazy. Look at our manpower now, look at our industry. When they say that Spain is pain, this run is the perfect definition of that. It's a painful, challenging and tough run. So boys, if you think you're ready, you should give it a try and let me know in the comments how it goes. This is my most challenging guide so far, so if you can do it, you can do anything. Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. In my recent Carlist Spain guide, I share with you a strategy to win the civil war, expand and even defeat the UK to annex France. In today's video, we are going to do a lot more. We will explore the Falangist path with its incredible coring potential. With a new and optimized strategy, we will be able to quickly win the Spanish Civil War, core Portugal, claim and annex all of South America, and then defeat the United States themselves to core half of the world. If that sounds interesting, you're in the right place. Mind though that this is not a beginner's guide. This is probably my most difficult guide yet. We will need cunning strategies, decent micro and perfect timing. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments, but make sure to join our Discord to meet our amazing community. As always guys, if you enjoy the content I make, please do not forget to support the channel by liking the video, subscribing and leaving a comment. It really helps. That said, let's get started. And boys, you're in for quite a run. As usual, all research and focus priorities are in the description, so they won't be covered in the edited version, and the dedicated spreadsheet covering all steps in detail is available to tier 2 members in the usual shared folder. This is our building priority. Keep in mind that these are some of the only cores we will be able to retain for most of the run. That's why we are building in here. Here is the military production priority. Let's also add the MIOs. Navy we will adjust a little bit later. We're going to use local police force as our occupation law. And now we're going to do some careful setup with our army. First of all, we want to split off this cavalry and keep it here in the north. The rest of the army we're going to split into groups of 4. And we're going to give them a full back line in here, 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 and here. We also want everybody to be training all the way up to regular. For what concerns the Navy, we are going to gather it all in the north and we are going to train it until 8 Navy experience. At 8 Navy experience, we're going to stop training the Navy and we're going to use a new design based on the early heavy ship. It is my empty ship design, this one here. We're going for maximum production on this one. The purpose is to gain as much naval supremacy as possible. So this is the only type of ship we want to produce. We want to cancel everything else. At the same time though, we're not going to import for the Navy. We're going to ignore that part. It's okay even at lower efficiency. We're going to lose some of these dockyards soon anyway. Now we need to be very careful because on the 16th of February, we want to pause the game immediately because we don't want to lose any time here. Now we get these new decisions about the civil war. Since we're going fascist, we're going to spam this one. If for any reason it becomes unavailable later on, we're just going for either suppress the strikes or sway leaders' loyalty. The important thing is that we pick this on cooldown. We're going to start here. And the other thing we want to pick on cooldown, we don't want to miss even 1 second, is this other decision here to expand influence in garrisons. The way we're going to do this is we want 3 in Sevilla, and then we want 1 in Granada, 1 in Murcia, and 1 in Valencia. So let's start with Sevilla. For some reason the AI never contests Sevilla, so it's a much safer and a cheaper option at the beginning. We can now go Granada, Murcia, Valencia, Sevilla again. Now here they contested us in Granada, so we're going to take it back. We're going to finish Sevilla at this point. Let's take this one back. Let's take Valencia back. And from now on, we just counted them. So they went for this one. We go for this one as well. There should not be enough time for another decision, so we should be good. Yeah, they're trying to contest in here, but in 1 day, the civil war will start, which means we did a great job. We got 3 in Sevilla and 1 in the other 3. That's perfect. So it is civil war time, and because we are going for Falangist, of course, we need to pick this one. Now the guide is already long, so I will not explain this in detail, but let me briefly explain why we went for these options down here. And the reason is we keep control of some ports and victory points, which will be very helpful later on. We will also keep a lot of their divisions busy, and by picking 3 in Sevilla, which as I mentioned is the cheapest option, Sevilla will remain a core of Spain, our core, even after the civil war, while normally you would lose all of these cores except for the starting ones, these ones here. We also already have enough army experience to pick army offense. But now we do need to micro a bit our divisions and get the perfect setup for the civil war. The first few days of the war are incredibly important, so we need to be ready. So first of all, we want these 5 new divisions that we got. These are the best divisions we have, and the cavalry to be in the same group. We also want these divisions in here to be elite divisions. We're also going to rename them Dr. Hoops. You will get our best divisions for this run. Thank you for supporting the channel as a tier 3 member for so long. By the way, since we are here, I'm also going to make a slight change and put the infantry up here. It's gonna be helpful mostly later on. For now, we're not going to change the other ones. Now, these divisions, which will be, again, the best ones we have available, we're going to give them all to this guy here, our best general, and we're going to prepare to push in the Madrid region. Make sure that you select exactly the right tiles to push in here. You can use a spearhead to make sure they only push in the right direction, but in any case later on we will need to micro them a lot. Now here in the south we should have a total of around 12 divisions. Let's see how many we have. 16, that's a bit too many, so we're going to send some of them away from here. We'll need them elsewhere. Then we're going to need about 8 divisions to take care of the north, the closest ones. So 3, 4, 5, 6, probably 7 and 8 here. So these 8 divisions will take care of the north. We can give them a front line, but then we will need to micro them almost entirely in any case. And we want everything else to be in the same army. We can give them an offensive command. Then we're going to remove some divisions from here, not to go over the limit. We can take a couple from here that we will use to abuse gaps in the area of Madrid. I'm going to take a couple from here and add them to the 2 in the area of Madrid. And now everything looks more or less alright. Now what's left to do is give these divisions down here some fallback lines. So the ones in Sevilla will be on a fallback line in this area. These ones here, since we didn't take Granada, we're going to focus on keeping Almeria. These ones here are not doing too bad, but we don't need these additional tiles, so we're going to focus on the 2 harbors. And these ones can focus on covering Valencia, but I can see a possible chance to take this area and unite the front, and if that's possible, then we should definitely at least try to do it. That's not always the case, but let's give it a go. The other thing we want to do is we want to immediately advance wherever it's possible, especially where there are supply hubs. There is one in here, and the other one that you can sometimes get is this one here. Now, unfortunately, they have a division in here, but we may still be able to get the supply hub. So we're going to pin this division here and see if we have any chances of getting to the supply hub. We're also going to advance everywhere we can. The other part in which it's very important to advance early is this one here, as it's usually possible to take Oviedo. So we're going to pin these 2 divisions here and see if we can get to Oviedo. We also want to move these guys around and ideally go to Bilbao. So we're going to pin these divisions and these divisions with these other 2. We're going to aggressively execute battle plans and highest motorization priority. We can now save. Our setup is done, but the next few days will be very important for our war. So let's slow down the speed a little bit. And let's make sure whenever we see a gap, we take it. So even in here. The other thing we want to do is we want people to move into position as fast as possible. So let's use trains to get them to the front. So our next priority here is to see if we can take Oviedo. Might be possible. And also in here. Okay, here we were not able to connect these guys, so we can stop pushing. It's not gonna happen anyway. Maybe able to advance a little bit more on this side though. Okay, this is very, very good. So you can see these divisions are moving away from Bilbao, which should give us a great chance to take Bilbao. It's not done yet, but maybe we have a chance. Okay, now we want to go for Bilbao and we want to stop this guy. And the other very good thing here is we were able to take this area, which has a supply hub. Now it is not connected, so the next priority is going to be to connect this supply hub in here. We're going to prioritize this. Other than that, we are happy in here. No point in pushing further right now, as we cannot advance anymore in here. We can also not advance anymore in here. We also managed to get this supply hub, although this one is also not connected, but it's gonna be helpful. And the most important part though is we got Bilbao, and this is absolutely awesome. And we also got Oviedo. Now this is the best case scenario where you can get both of them, though we're a little bit in trouble in the area, but it's gonna be fine. Now getting Bilbao also gives you back the MIOs that you otherwise lose, so we can assign them back. And there we go, so we get the usual debuff for the civil war, which will make it almost impossible to push in principle. This is not necessarily a bad thing at this time, because it will make sure that we keep what we already control, which should be Oviedo, Bilbao, and here in the south our divisions will last a lot longer. It also gives us the possibility to plan offensives, and the very first offensive we want to plan is going to be in the area of Madrid. This is going to be an incredibly important offensive, the decisive one for the rest of the civil war. And honestly, down here I still see a chance of merging the front, which would be nice. Now as we unlock this technology, we can start doing something cheesy, which we're going to do for this civil war, I don't care. And that's going to be this self-propelled anti-air. It's gonna help us mostly in the rest of the run actually, but we want to start producing it. We want to reduce infantry equipped to 2, and everything else will go to this new SPAA. Oh, yeah, we don't want these people to move away from the front here, so it's good that we got it. But now we may need to create another front. So the good thing about doing this is now we have these divisions available. We can assign them to this front. Okay, they planned an offensive in here. Now, it's ideal when they plan offensives in the south, so this is not great. Although this offensive planned will help us later on in the Carlist civil war, so it's not too bad. And then I would say it is time to push. Very important push, so we need to plan it carefully. We need to select our divisions and manually tell them where to push. Of course, we want to rush Madrid as quickly as possible, but then we want to expand south, and we want to do it fast. Of course, I would recommend watching the unedited version to see the micro part a bit better. We got Madrid already. This is very, very good, but we're not done yet. Especially I need my cavalry there fast. Now this is very nice. We need to micromanage the cavalry a little bit because we want to rush the south very quickly. So with the cavalry, the goal is to rush down, ideally all the way down to Malaga and Granada. The more we can get now, the better it is. That's why we also have these additional divisions in the area. They are going to help. If they ever stall you outside of the area where the offensive was planned, there is no way to push them right now. So just give up and push somewhere else, or pin the divisions. This is probably the most tedious part of the run, because microing carefully is very important. At this point you can start a push with everyone, and if nothing else, at least pin their divisions. Now at 30 army experience, we can start making some changes to our offensive divisions. We're going to add one more infantry, and we are going to add the light self-propelled anti-air. Oh, this is terribly bad. Ooh, we saved it. That was bad. Yeah, we cannot afford to lose Valencia. Ever. This is very unfortunate because they may be able to get to Malaga. We're going to try and stop them. Taking Malaga is very important. And we can try to get to Granada with these guys here instead. As you can see, we are abusing the gaps that they are leaving. Mind that not only victory points are important to capitulate them, any single province we can manage to control helps speed up the civil war. So everything helps a little bit. This doesn't help on the other hand. This definitely does not help. But maybe we can get Caspe. And getting Caspe would help a lot more than that guy being encircled. We got Caspe. That's amazing. And we are probably getting Granada as well. As you can see now, it's a complete mess everywhere. I think if we can get Verona, Barcelona and Malaga, the civil war should end. That would be an incredibly fast civil war, faster than in my other test runs. Now this guy is pretty much free. This guy is attacking, but he shouldn't be. So I think we can plan the naval invasion. Let's start with this one. Need to find divisions. We need to find somehow some free divisions somewhere. Oh, we got Malaga. Look at that. They stopped pushing somewhere in here. This makes things a lot easier. Let's try to focus on Barcelona. Now, with enough army experience, we can also add the support artillery to our offensive divisions. Let's do that. We can also start moving the navy in this area, give some naval invasion support. We're going to need it. If possible, we want to trigger the naval invasion of Barcelona before we need to plan the next offensive. So we will get a better idea of what we need to do next. Now, actually winning this civil war very quickly, like we are doing now, is great, but it will make the next civil war against the Carlist a bit harder, because it means we will not have any offensives planned in this area. Okay, I'm going to trigger this naval invasion, and now let's find out what happens. It's like we may be able to take Barcelona. Yeah, we are. Is that enough? No, it's not enough at all. Oh, they took back Malaga. Damn it. Yeah, that was my bad. You need to constantly pay attention to everything in here. Oh, that's what happens. This could have been prevented, not going to lie, but it's gonna be fine. What this means likely is that we're going to need to plan an offensive in here. Also, where are the volunteers from Italy? Italy's always slacking. Ah, we lost Granada. Bit of a fuck up for sure. Well, you know what this means? So this means we definitely need to plan the offensive in here. That's going to be okay. Now let's plan the offensive in here. Let me see also where they planned it. Now they planned it in here. That's okay. Not great for us. Not very useful. And it may kill this guy, which is also not great. But let's see. Okay, 2 more days and we get the offensive in here. Not that we are in a great spot right now, but let's see what we can do. Okay, we got the offensive. Let's see if we can take Granada very quickly. And from here we can try to push to Malaga. Then we need to be absolutely sure not to lose Barcelona. I know this is fine because this guy is pinned, so even if we lose that one in Bilbao, it's gonna be fine, but it's still scary. Malaga should be fine. Okay, Malaga is fine, but it's not enough. But let's see if Granada is enough. Granada, is that enough? That's very close. Wait, is it gonna be this easy? Are they really not going to stop this guy? Oh. That may be it. That's it, boys. We did it. We did it still earlier than usual. Let me see how much earlier. Yeah, pretty decent. Pretty decent, honestly. I would say one offensive earlier than I usually do it. Guys, keep in mind that there is some RNG in this civil war. It's not certain which spots will be empty. And every time it's a little bit different. But so far I found this to be the most consistent. Now, in terms of timing, keep in mind that we had this focus. So another 35 days, then this one, so another 35 days, and then we would ideally want to pick this one and trigger the Carlist Civil War. So this is more or less the extra time we had, let's say another 70 days, which means, of course, another offensive. So we planned one in Granada. Where did we plan the other one? Yes, Granada, Madrid. Those are the 2 we planned. We would have had one more chance. Usually the last one is in Bilbao. But then it also depends a bit on where the AI plans their offensives. This one was not particularly helpful. They often do it in Sevilla, which allows you to kill and encircle all divisions down here. Either way, in this span of time, unless you're very unlucky, you are usually able to get this done. If that's not the case, if you're much later than the run, much later than the focuses I showed, I would recommend restarting, because being late in this run is a big problem. So what we can do at this point is we can already set up for the Carlist Civil War, although again we were quite early. And the setup for the Carlist Civil War is tricky because they will take all of these central provinces here in the north. That's going to be particularly annoying because we only have one offensive planned in there, and it was here, so everything else will be without offensives. Now, once again, we want to set up all of our offensive divisions and the cavalry. We are going to give them a fallback line here north of Madrid. So we want to be careful that we are not in the enemy provinces, in the ones that will go to Carlist. Otherwise, our divisions will be moved very far away. So something like this is ideal. And then the other ones, we can keep them in 2 big groups. One of them up here in the north. So we want to cover the coastline mainly and take these 2 provinces, Asturias and País Vasco, because these 2 will remain with us after the Civil War. Now, they will also take Western Aragon, but they will not take Eastern Aragon, so we can use the other divisions on a fallback line, something like this. Again, it cannot be fully precise because it changes a little bit every time. Now, for consistency, although we could trigger an early Carlist uprising, I'm going to stick to the usual focus priority. Now, we also have the political power to pick the silent workhorse. Then we're also going to pick the infantry expert. Now, for this run, we are going to pick superior firepower, as we want the extra early soft attack and also the extra early tactic. And now let's be ready to fight the Carlist. Now, first of all, we want to see a little bit what the situation looks like. Our divisions here in the north are in a pretty good spot, and they can start pushing right away, which is what we want to do ideally. Don't want to give them any time, but unfortunately there is still the matter of these offensives. Now, I see they have divisions in here, so I am fairly tempted to do it here. Although this one may also be needed. What we want to do in here is we want to rush. Now here it's very cool if we can get La Coruña and Vigo without a fight. That would be awesome. So let's see if we have any chances of doing that. Also getting Leon would be great. See if we can expand a little bit in here as well. Anything we can grab before using the offensives is basically free stuff for us. Very happy with this guy moving around though. So this shows that maybe the offensive here wasn't needed, but we need to be super careful not to lose Bilbao. Again, front's getting completely messed up. That's the only way with Spain. That's what happens all of the time. Now, since volunteers are taking care of this area, I am planning a naval invasion. If this can speed up things a little bit. They are not defending La Coruña, so the naval invasion was not needed. Okay. We got Salamanca. That's perfect. So only Pamplona left. We may need to wait for the next offensive. Oh, there is Leon as well. Now, since Pamplona is all we need, I'm going to attempt and take it without planning the offensive. The only chance we have to do that is with our best divisions. So let's give it a try. In here, let's take Smoke and Fire first. Now that we became officially fascist, we can switch to war economy. And now we need to figure out how long it will take to finish the civil war, whether to take the next focus or not. See, we were slightly early, now we are going to be slightly late, but I do think we have enough time. So the idea is to skip on the focus for a little bit, just a few days. Yeah, they're even last standing me, motherfuckers. So the next focus that we should take if we are very late is this one, but it's 70 days and I am confident we're going to get this done in less than 70 days, so I'm still going to skip it. There was a little bit of a mistake. I should have planned the offensive that I planned in here. I knew that could be the case. In any case, in 13 days that will be done, so that's okay. No big deal. Finally. That's it. Done. Slightly late on the second one, so very early on the first one, slightly late on the second one. So we can continue with this one. We recovered 10 days, we were probably late. We were probably like 20 days late. That should not be too much of a deal. Now that the civil war is over, we're going to build more. And since we took Sevilla initially, as you can see, it stays a core, while almost everything else in here is an occupied state. You can see it from the resistance map mode. Having Sevilla means we can build more in there, first of all, and then we can use these other 60% provinces, which are also our cores. So here is the new production priority. Now, in occupied territories, we're going to get rid of some puppets, so we don't waste any manpower. We are getting rid of these ones, not of Morocco, because it has too many resources. So now what we want is we want 10 divisions to be off. So we're going to change 10 of them to our Dr. Hoops. And the rest to be def. Now, by def, I can now show you what we mean. We're going to use this template here. Andrew, you will get def for this run. We're going to change this division into def, and then we're going to recruit enough def to have a total of 24, so 23. We're going to prepare off at the border with Portugal and def at the border with Gibraltar. Now we can pick political loyalty, which is going to help a lot with stability. And then I like quick improvisation. Now, Japan triggered its series of wars, and usually this is pretty much well timed with the end of this focus, but we're about 1 month late, because we were a bit late with the second civil war. So what we're going to do at this point, as long as you have at least 160 political power, is we're going to justify on Gibraltar. Then we're going to justify on the Dutch East Indies. Then we're going to immediately, with the game paused, be careful, because 1 day of this and you're fucked. We're going to cancel the justification on Gibraltar, and we're also going to justify on Belgian Congo. What this does is it allows us to have the 2 claims at exactly the same time, 335 days on Congo and on the Dutch East Indies. So that's the only reason why we justify on Gibraltar. So when the focus completes, if you haven't started the claims yet, now it's the time to do so. And it's also time to pick as soon as possible improved worker conditions. Our next goal is to get to extensive conscription, so limited conscription first, and then extensive conscription. We can now also pick the syndicalist Falangist, and as soon as this focus is done, we are immediately going after Portugal. Portugal is very easy, so we're just going to give some commands to our divisions to rush straight for the victory points. There we go. Portugal down. Feels good not to have a 90% debuff when you push somewhere. Feels very good. In the peace conference, we are going to annex the cores of Portugal, which is the mainland, Madeira and the Azores. Then we're going to liberate everything else. And that's because we need to keep our generated war tension under control. And after doing that, there are a couple more provinces from Portugal that we can puppet. Confirm, take the navy. Now, at this point, we want to change our building priority from Spain to Portugal, because Portugal is a lot better, and basically for the rest of this run, Portugal will be our core. So we're basically playing as Portugal. So we build in here in the 100% first, and we want this to be the priority, so let's lower the priority of the Spanish ones. We're going to plan a naval invasion of Belgium right away. So we're going with groups of 3. 3 from here to here. Another 3 from here to here. And then 4 from Bilbao to here. We're also going to create an agency at this point. With the agency, we are getting the naval department upgrade, and then we're going to spy Belgium. We're going to force deploy and make sure everybody here is training. Now, we don't need 24 divisions to push Gibraltar, so half of these divisions will stay with our offensive divisions. We'll follow them around, so we can prepare them in here. And finally, what we're going to do is we're going to change from local police force to civilian oversight. We're going to pick the Falangist figurehead, and we're going to bring our def to 10 with plus support artillery. We also want to recruit another 24 defensive divisions. And this, boys, is the smooth part of the run. Then it gets tricky again. There we go, we got our claims, so it is time to expand in the Benelux. These expansion wars are not difficult, but we need to be precise and careful with the timing. It's all about the war tension. Now, our generated war tension is only 5.4 at the moment, so we don't need to worry about guarantees. But ideally, we don't want to fight the Netherlands and Belgium at the same time. So what we're going to do is, first of all, don't declare war on Belgium, declare war on Congo, because it's only 2%, while if you declare war on Belgium directly, it's going to be 3%, and every single 1% matters. So we're going to declare war on Congo, and we are going to trigger our naval invasion. And we can also use a force attack to make sure that we disembark. We do want to be fast. Now here you want to be very careful, because the second Antwerpen goes down, these will be over. There we go. So now pause the game, and before the peace conference, you want to declare war on the Dutch East Indies. Now Belgium is down. This is another peace conference that you want to do carefully. Now we need to stay below 50% war tension, and some other events may affect that. First of all, we're going to annex Belgium, and then what we do with Congo depends on the war tension. If we can afford to puppet them entirely, that's great, but we need to stay below 50%. If you cannot do that, you can liberate some of them, or even liberate more and don't puppet Congo if absolutely needed. But if you did everything correctly, you should be fine. So We're actually going to puppet them entirely. We're going to take war reparations and resource rights as well. And we are staying in a fairly safe range here. Now, the later you do this in the run, the more risky it gets, because Germany will do some more stuff that increases the war tension, so at that point it may get a little scary. Now, we do want to take down the Netherlands as fast as possible, so we don't need to worry about this war tension anymore. Let's also start sending these divisions over to help later on, and let's go straight into the Netherlands. Shouldn't be challenging. And we did a great job with the Netherlands. Perfect. Now here what we want to do is we want to annex the cores of the Netherlands, and then we want to puppet the rest. Also balkanizing these two is always nice. And boys, I have good news and bad news for you. The good news is we are now finally decently beefy with a decent industry. We are getting resources, so not in a bad spot. The bad news is the smooth part of the run is once again over, as the next part will be challenging. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start spying on France. And now that we have some new nice puppets, we can request for garrison support from both of them. And this will massively help with our manpower, which is already a bit healthier than before, luckily. We also want to change the production once again. And this one here is the new production priority. Notice that we also added the production of helicopters. Now, from this point of the run, we also want to start fixing our trade. We can import from the Soviet Union. And we can build more military factories in the best available provinces. Now, usually, this area here is extremely developed and fairly safe away from us and potential bombing. So after Portugal, I would say this is the best area to build. Now, let's make sure that we move our fleet up here in the north. Let's also make these provinces not our favorite choice, at least for supplies. Especially later on. For now, we don't have any other option. And now we need to prepare for France, so we need to plan these carefully. We're going to use our offensive divisions to break through and rush Paris and the other important victory points in here. And the defensive divisions to cover the rest of the front. Okay, looks good. Now, at this point, you need to make a backup save. Even if you're playing on Iron Man, you can make a backup save, and it's very, very important at this point, especially if you're playing on Iron Man, because the next part of the run is consistent, but there is a little bit of RNG, and that RNG can screw you up. Now, I need to explain this very briefly. What we're going to do is we're going to declare war on the United Kingdom, then we're going to invade France, and that part is okay. But what we want to do is we want to claim all of South America to be in the Allies Peace Conference. So we can take all of it and then defeat the United States to be able to core all of South, Central, and part of North America. The problem is the fascist countries in here, which are Peru, Venezuela, El Salvador, and the Dominican Republic. Because being fascist, they will join the Allies, but sometimes due to a bug, after the United States enforce the white peace, they will not rejoin the war. In fact, they will be called to join the war. The I says they will accept, but instead of accepting, they refuse. They get kicked out of the Allies and they join the Axis instead, which is a big problem because that means that you need to take down Germany as well in order to get your cores. Now, I don't want to do that, but if you're okay with that, just continue with the run without the backup save. What I would recommend doing is back up the save right now. Once that's done, let's declare war on the United Kingdom and immediately trigger our pushes. And now we start with the first series of claims. Now, since we are fascists, they are very fast. We start with Peru. There we go. France was called into this. Now let's make sure that we micro our divisions at least a little bit to get to Paris fast. Now you should also be able to pick war bonds at this point. And we already took Gibraltar, which is great. Now we can start training these divisions again. We also want to start deploying all of the additional defensive divisions so we can start training them while they get ready to defend from potential naval invasions. Now you may also notice how I completely ignored this border of France. This is a gamble. We need to take Paris and capitulate them before they capitulate us. And this usually is not a problem. So let's go on and do that. A little bit of micro again, but nothing compared to what we had to do before. This is not too bad. That's it. France is down. Of course, this is not the challenging part. France is never the challenging part. They have some divisions in here. Now, this is actually pretty good because we want to go down here anyway with our divisions. We want to get them ready for Italy but not too ready for Italy. So we're going to move them in the area, but not on the border yet, with the hope that the Italians will not send too many divisions over there. Now that France is down, we also want to make sure that we don't use these regions for supplies. Also, these ones, ideally, we don't want to use. And well, now, since we haven't gotten the first claim on Peru yet, it's a good time for that backup save I was mentioning. Okay, now let's see what happens with Peru, but the first part is smooth. So you declare war on them, and then we can start justifying on Venezuela right away. So at this point, Peru always joins the allies. There we go. When you get additional divisions from your puppets, I would recommend disbanding them so you get some infantry equip, because getting from there to here would be a mess. I'm going to get a scientist for the facility. When you get this message from the United States, you can accept it. You will get a white piece, and this is where the little bit of RNG part begins. Because at this point, France or the UK will call Peru back into this war. And if you tag Peru at this point, if you want to check it out, they always accept. They should always accept. But sometimes, somehow, they refuse, and that's a problem. Yeah, okay, so we got the better RNG immediately, as you can see. If they say no faction, it means they refused. So that's very annoying. You need to reload your backup save. Now, since we need to reload anyway, let me show you why this is bugged. That's actually interesting, I believe. So we accept the white piece, right? At this point, it's up to DI to call Peru back into the war, and they will do it. If we tag FRA, and we check Peru, call to arms, this war, they will accept. As you can see, they will accept. Despite having to break a truce, the fact that Peru is fascist, and the base reluctance, they will always accept. For some weird reason, in the game, they don't always accept. You can tell when they don't accept because they are kicked from the allies by not joining the war. As you can see now, the United Kingdom called them and they accepted. This is what's supposed to happen. It's a bug when they don't. So it's fair, in my opinion, to make the backup save and reload it because it's clearly a bug. It's a fairly rare one, but it could happen for each of these countries, these 4 ones here. So that's why we do them first. If it's smooth and done, then we don't need to worry about anything anymore. Now it's Venezuela's turn. Venezuela is called. Okay, it seems like reloading the game in this case fixes the bug mostly. So maybe even on Iron Man you can quit and rejoin the run at this point. Now let's see what happens with El Salvador and the Dominican Republic. And after the Dominican Republic, we are going to start a justification on Italy. And at this point, we want to move into position. And we want to do this very carefully here. So with these divisions, our aim is to push this area here. And the remaining ones with them will cover the front. Okay, we are good, boys. We can continue with the run. So you need to make sure that Peru, Venezuela, El Salvador, and the Dominican Republic are all in the allies and they are all at war with you. Now, though, another tricky part of the run. So before we can declare war on Italy, we need to join the Axis. Otherwise, they will join the Axis, and that's not cool. If we can push Italy smoothly with only these few divisions that we have available and capitulate them without calling Germany, that's absolutely fantastic. But that's unfortunately not always the case. There will be situations in which we cannot push Italy, we get stalled and we waste too much time. We cannot afford to waste too much time with Italy. So if that's the case, we are going to call Germany into this war. Now, Germany is not yet into this war because we haven't started it yet. We'll always join both wars when we call them. I don't know why, but there is no way to call them only into the war with Italy. That's a bit annoying because while it makes Italy easier to capitulate and it makes the UK easier to invade later on, it will also mean sharing the war score with them. Which means we will need to focus on annexing all of this stuff in South America, and Germany will steal something from us in the rest of the world. So if you can do it by yourself, of course, that's much better. But if you cannot, don't sweat too much over it. We will have enough points in the peace conference to take what we need. Now, as we declare war on Italy, we are far from done with the annoying and tedious claims. And since this is about claiming all of the South American countries one by one every 10 days, declaring war on them, accepting the white peace, now, the fascist ones are done, so all other ones will always join the allies and the war again, so there is no problem there. But since this is very tedious, I will just list them in the description. You can check it out, or you can check the unedited version. Just don't forget to get those claims every 10 days. Now I'm going to move some of these divisions up here because the allies will attempt to naval invade us, so we need to be ready. In here, once again, little bit of micro. If you can take Turin and encircle some of the Italian divisions in the area, this will make the war much easier. And we can also pick domestic film industry. Italy seems fairly smooth this time. Let's see if it stays that way. The timing with Italy is very, very important. They have divisions, they are sending them back, so we need to be fast. If we can cut them into two, that's gonna help a lot. Okay, we need to pay attention to these naval invasions. They can be annoying. If you join the Axis and the Axis are in the war, they can help a lot. But in this case, we're on our own. So that's one more thing we need to pay attention to. We have these 24 additional divisions we spawned. We can stop training them and use them to repel naval invasions when needed. As soon as you unlock the basic medium tank, we can go for our usual design. This one here. We're going to assign all future factories to it and reduce infantry equip to 20. And boys, things in Italy are going very well. Very happy with this. We got a big encirclement up here. We're suffering a bit down there, but that's gonna be fine. Because our best divisions are currently all here. Now we can focus on the rest. This can be a challenging part of the push. We can now pick army regrouping. And now with Cuba, we are done with the claims in the area. Now we just need to take down Italy as fast as possible. Okay, boys, if we cannot get this done in a couple of pushes, we unfortunately are going to have to call Germany because we don't have time to spare. The time we are saving is going to be important. Italy was able to send back their divisions. It looks like we're a bit stalled here. So I'm not going to risk it, and I'm just going to call Germany into this. Now, as you can see, they would accept to join the Spanish-Italian war. You could do it from here. You can also do it from here. You can just call Germany into this war against Italy, not the war against the Allies. But they don't care and just join both of them, which is great. Just to show you, yeah, Germany joined both wars, not just this one. Unfortunately, when Italy buckles up like this and sends a lot of divisions to hold on the front, it's going to become very, very difficult to push them. So without Germany, it's getting a bit tough. It's doable, but you waste a lot of time and it's probably not worth it at that point. We were closer, we were very close, but I didn't want to risk it. Of course, another option is you can also use your navy to plan a naval invasion, but that's extremely risky because you will sacrifice both your navy and the Italian navy. And that navy is absolutely needed later on to take care of the UK. We want to transfer territory absolutely to our Italian puppet, so with Germany we will have a much easier time in the peace conference. Now, Germany takes a lot of the score against the UK, but not a lot against Italy, so Italy is not a problem either way. Okay, then Italy peace conference. As you can see here, it's not much of a deal that we call the Axis into it. The absolute priority in here is to take the Italian navy, and you need to check the score and how much of the score you get every turn. So prioritize that above everything else. Yeah, we get shitty score in here, so cannot even take the entire navy. That's incredibly annoying, but that's okay. And the rest is fine because the rest of Italy usually stays with Italy, so that's totally fine. And then Germany goes a bit crazy, but, you know, Germany does what Germany does. So, of course, at this point, very conveniently, the Italian fleet that we took from Italy is up here already, because it would be a problem to send it through Gibraltar. We control Gibraltar, but not Ceuta, so it's a problem. But it appears up here, so that's very convenient. So it's now time to invade the UK. Before that, though, we're going to do a couple more things. We're going to start spying on the UK. We're going to start adding some tanks to our armored divisions. We don't have enough tanks yet. I also want to add the helicopters. So let's see the situation here. Helicopters, we're almost there. And medium tanks, we have about half what we need. So we're a bit far, but that's okay. We will produce them over time. Now, over time, we also want to bring this all the way to 30 with, but not for now. So, of course, these 10 divisions will lead our naval invasion. This time, the naval invasion will be from here. By the way, very cool trick, which I did not know before. Though it seems crazy, if you start a naval invasion from this particular harbor here, and you trigger it in this area up here, as usual, groups of 2, well, somehow for it, you only need to control the North Sea. So you don't need to actually have supremacy in the channel, despite the arrows clearly going through the channel. And you also don't need to control this eastern North Sea, despite clearly them having to go through either one of them to get to the UK. But are we going to complain? No. Now we are going to send 24 defensive divisions behind them to help support in the UK, because the UK can be tough, especially if you didn't call Germany. Now with Germany is a little bit easier. The other thing we get at this point is we can take all of the Italian forces. They are not great, but they are better than nothing, and we can keep them in Spain to defend from naval invasions. And now when you pick this focus, I usually consider that as the timer. It's time to invade the UK as you pick the focus, or as soon as possible afterwards. In this case we are slightly late, but overall it's fine. Usual setup for the Navy, so all submarines are split into a separate fleet. Let's give them a commander as well. Let's make sure that they never repair. Also the main fleet, we want it to never repair. So we're going to open back up these provinces. We are going to send submarines on convoy raiding as usual. And we are going to pray that this is enough to get the naval supremacy. Let's see. It's enough right away. Now this is lucky. That's not always the case, but I must say calling Germany into it massively helps getting the naval supremacy in here. Otherwise it may take a bit. And the other thing you can do is you can send the planes. Only 100 fighters can make it there, but they will give you the air supremacy and boost you a little bit. Now, the other thing that helps is Italy. Italy is in this war as our puppet. They still have half of the navy, and they are keeping the British navy and the French navies a bit busier in here. Unfortunately, Germany is stealing part of the score because of Czechoslovakia, but that's okay as long as we invade the UK fast. Seems good so far. We're going to use a force attack to make sure that we disembark, and as soon as we disembark, the highest priority is to take a harbor, and the second highest priority is to rush the other side of the UK and split them into two. Okay, we got Newcastle. As soon as you get a harbor, immediately send over all additional divisions. Now here we need to be fast. Usual reason, the UK sends more reinforcements if you're slow, but also Germany is chewing away our score. Okay, we did a great job at cutting them into two. So at this point we can assign 12 defensive divisions to the northern part of the UK and keep pushing in there. And the other 12 can be here to support our offensive divisions. Okay, up here it's going amazingly, so let's keep the pressure up. Now we absolutely need to keep an eye on the UK. They cannot capitulate yet, because we actually need to complete this focus first. So let's wait a bit here. I think this is the first time I have the issue of capitulating the UK too fast. Okay, finally we got the last focus we needed. So at this point we declare war on every claimed country in the world except for the United States. Now, if you didn't call Germany, of course bringing them in is great because you take them all in the peace conference. In this case we will need to share the score 50-50 with Germany, and bringing stuff that we don't need in the peace conference will mean Germany will take it and we can focus on the stuff we do need. I'll just give it a couple of days just to make sure that they will be part of the peace conference. Okay, 52% to 48%. I will take it. Now let's make sure that everybody is in it. Everybody is in it. Look at this. How beautiful this is. Now, this is a very important peace conference, so once again, maybe I would make a backup save in here. What you absolutely need is to annex all of these South American countries except for Brazil. Everything else in here is needed for our course. And then, usually, you're able to take France and the United Kingdom as well. But first of all, we're going to start with Gibraltar, which is rightfully ours. I'm also going to prioritize above other things taking these two provinces here to invade the United States. They make it much easier. And I'm also going to puppet Suez because it's very strategically important and extremely cheap. Next, we're going to annex all of the stuff down here, and I suggest you do it from here so you don't miss anything. This stuff luckily is not too expensive. We need to contest Germany, of course, for everything in this area. Okay, hopefully I didn't mess up anything. So next priority I would say is to puppet Singapore, also very important. And then we're going to focus on either France or the UK, or ideally both. Let's see if we have a chance at both. And also annexing and not puppeting, because annexing is cheaper. Could have puppeted them instead. We have plenty of points. See, 50% of the score is more than enough to take everything we want. Next, we want to make sure there are no pieces of the UK or France left. That's always very annoying when it happens. And we have plenty of points to also take navies. Now, if I knew I would have so many spare points, I would have invested a little bit more into it. 2,000 spare points, look at that. Okay, but we're happy enough. Let's confirm. And now, one final very important target for us, the United States. So for the United States, we are going to invade them from here. We're going to use our best offensive divisions here in the north. Offensive line like this. They will be followed by 24 defensive divisions covering this entire area. And actually we're going to change these defensive divisions to infantry divisions, named after Gator Cat, a new tier 3 member of the channel. So thank you for supporting the channel. And I'm sorry, Andrew, you're outdated now. So all of these def will move into inf. The remaining 24 def will be at the southern border of the United States, where Mexico is. Plan a push like this. And down here we're also going to send all of the puppet divisions. Now, right now we have the divisions of Italy in there. Ooh, the UK has 2 islands, but 85 divisions. See, that's why it's very good to puppet them, at least partially. Because, I mean, 98 divisions out of nowhere. Sure, I'll make a white peace with Brazil, Argentina, Chile. Yes, I'll do it. Oh, yes, Colombia too. And Bolivia. No worries. We should probably switch back to local police force, except for Spain, in which we can keep civilian oversight. Otherwise, manpower is a problem. Now, speaking of Spain, we can finally start coring it, which is cool, and will solve partially at least the manpower issues. We have been saving political power for these too. We're going to make some changes to the production. This is the new production priority. A couple more tanks to add to our off. Now, I don't want Germany to annoy me with factions, so I will let them take Poland before we go after the US. So the US will not form a faction, Poland will not join, and will not be in trouble with that, hopefully. And Poland is gone. So boys, time to end this run. Time for the grand finale. Let's go for it. Yeah, they formed a faction, but nobody should join it, hopefully. And the good thing about pushing from Mexico as well is that we will get some of the victory points in here and speed up the war a little bit. We still need to take this area entirely. But this is just pure battle planning at full speed because I'm tired and I want to end this run. This will be insanely long to edit as well. It's fine. It's reassuring to see the German divisions in there, but Germany should not be in this war. Yeah, so they are not doing anything. But it looks like the United States don't know that, and they just don't push, because some German divisions are there. That's cool. Boys, don't blame me if after such a long and insanely micro-heavy run, I just want to battle plan rush victory points. It's not even worth doing anything else in here, honestly. So. Yeah, it's risky. No Germany joining, please. No, okay, it's done. Yeah, boys! The United States are down! How well did I... This is a perfect run because it starts with great micromanaging in Spain and then this complete messy chaos in the United States. But that doesn't matter. Now, technically, you should only annex the provinces that you can core, but we are not going to care. We are just going to annex all of the United States. And why not making our navy even bigger? I mean, look how beautiful this looks. Now, let's just pray that we did everything correctly, because if we did, this focus should be now enabled, which means we can start it. We finally core back all of Spain. No, we still don't have the compliance. How fun is the Spanish Civil War? We still don't have the compliance to core all of Spain. Instead, we will core half of the world. How crazy is that? But more importantly, with this focus, this stuff is no longer just controlled by us. This stuff is now our core. This includes basically everything you see in here, with the exception of part of the United States, which remains occupied, but we just annex them because it looks better. Boys, I'm not going to lie, I'm dead. This run killed me. The microing, the claims, but getting to March 1940, controlling this part of the world and coring all of this stuff here. is crazy. Look at our manpower now, look at our industry. When they say that Spain is pain, this run is the perfect definition of that. It's a painful, challenging and tough run. So boys, if you think you're ready, you should give it a try and let me know in the comments how it goes. This is my most challenging guide so far. So if you can do it, you can do anything. I literally worked for months to prepare this run. This was quite insane. I don't want to see Spain ever again. Now, if you appreciate the work I do, please show that by liking the video, subscribing and leaving me a comment. It really helps the channel and it helps me feel better about the amount of work I put into these runs. Other than that, guys, as usual, thank you all so much for watching and I will see you very soon in the next video. Bye bye!